more expensive games. You also want to earn your money as fast as possible, and the casual return seems to come sooner in terms of calendar months. You can get a game done in about 6 months, and by month 7 you're making some money back. Social takes a little longer, mostly because you're continuing to spend money, so it pushes your profitability out. And then core, it can take 1.5 years, 2 years, even 3 years to make your money back if you do. So this is kind of an interesting thing, just taking a step back and looking down at these business models and evaluating them and trying to be objective. It's an interesting way to sort of look at the space. So what I did here is I took all of those different graphs and put them together on top of each other. So you can see the red is the core, blue is still social, and green is casual. So you can see that the core release is there at that inflection point. That's where your core game would be launched. There's your social game, and there's your casual. So your casual game, in fact, can be done faster, and typically is. So one of the things that that stands out as obvious on this chart is that the numbers for core are extremely high. So your top line revenue is great. Social, you have a lot more money coming in as well in terms of pure money. And then casual's pretty small, so this might add some concern. Well, okay, casual looks good on paper, but the numbers are really small. What's unfair about this, though, is that the casual release, we did one in 6 or 7 months. This is a 24-month cycle, and we did 24 months in order to capture a full cycle for a retail game, and also to give enough room for the social game to actually show profitability. So in this time, you could actually build 3 casual games. The same team, you don't have to add a new team, and the same team could actually finish one game, start another game, start another game. So what I did is I extended the model for a full 2-year cycle for a small studio building casual games, and you can see there are actually 3 casual releases in that period of time. So now it's fair. We haven't added a team. If you wanted to increase your revenue in social, you'd actually have to build a whole new team because the other team's already busy building or continuing to build the first game. On the retail core product, that team isn't available until month 19 or so, so they'd just be starting again pretty much at the end of this graph. So that starts to look like a little bit more realistic in terms of how you would actually use your resources and how that would work out. Now, basically looking at the graph, we look at the profit margin on each of these. And so the dotted line again is your revenue during this period of time, and the solid line is the amount of money you spent building the game. And even though the numbers are still lower for casual in terms of actual real dollars, your profit margin is better. And the other thing that's interesting about this too is you got 3 shots at your marketplace. You got to release 3 games in that period of time. That automatically reduces your risk because each time you launch a game, you've got to learn something about the marketplace, and you've got to take another shot. If one of those games was a hit, it would pay for losses in the other 2 games. So you're reducing your risk, you're building a portfolio as opposed to putting all of your hopes and dreams into one project every 2 years. So it's true that the audience size in social is a lot larger than casual, absolutely true. In fact, maybe that shouldn't be a picture of Jupiter, maybe that should be a supernova, because not only is it big, it's actually still growing. Facebook was 200 million people a year ago, it's over 400 million now. That's just unbelievable. It's basically a whole new internet. Very, very large. The problem is that the paying audience sizes are about the same. The number of people, remember that I said, that would pay money in a free game on Facebook is between 1% and 4%. That's pretty small. So it starts to shrink your paying audience to about the size of casual. The number of successful developers, however, is a lot smaller. I actually scaled the mood up a little bit, just to be fair. So I mean, it's dramatic, right? There's a lot of myths about social. There's a lot of myths about casual. There's still a few about core, but I want to try to put them in perspective for you. So one of the other things that I've heard a lot is that social gaming has been eroding sales of casual, and that casual has actually slowed down. What you're looking at right now is a graph of the size of the casual market since about 2001 when casual really started to grow. And you can see the initial growth in about 2002 where it really started to take off. Since then, and it's gone up and down a little bit, but it's always gone upwards, right? It didn't always accelerate at exactly the same rate, but it's gone up steadily since 2002. This is when social really started to boom in 2006. It hasn't affected casual at all. What's interesting, however, is that retail has actually shrunk 14% last year and 9% the year before. If anything's been affected by the growth of social, it's actually been retail. And I'll explain why in a moment. But, or at least my theory about why in a moment. The thing about social that's interesting to me, and my current theory, is that social is actually growing the audience. Right? It's a new audience that's coming into social. They're not really game players that are being taken away really from retail or from casual, but they're growing a whole new audience. These are people that haven't really discovered games, but they're on Facebook and their friends are playing things. There's maybe some peer pressure and they're looking at stuff. And so this is sort of the gateway drug. This is their first experience with games. And eventually, many of those people may actually graduate and start playing games in casual, or maybe buying core games. And as they discover that games are actually fun, and then it's not embarrassing to tell people that they play games, they may actually graduate to social, or to casual or core games. That's my current theory. I think it's a great opportunity to bring people into gaming and get them exposed to it. I don't know if they'll be satisfied there long term or not, but it seems like it's a great sort of entry point. So this is why the audience, I believe social isn't actually eroding casual. While the demographics are very similar, their behaviors are different. And the overlap between people who are willing to pay for a game on casual and those who are willing to pay for content in social is very thin. It's not a lot of people that are doing both. And they're very different audiences. And we used to say in core that hardcore game players had a different appetite than people who were buying casual games. You know, people who were buying casual games just wanted the snacks. They just wanted bite-sized game experiences. You can take that same thing and apply it to social, right? So casual is sort of an appetizer, right? And social now, or casual is an appetizer, and social are those little snacks. It's like eating some crackers or something. And they're different audiences. And so if I sit down and play a casual game, I'm looking for one type of an experience. And if I sit down and play a social game on Facebook, I'm looking for a different kind of experience. And what I'm willing to pay money for is probably different in each of those categories. And in fact, the people usually go with that behavior. So a different person will be over here, and a different person will be over here. And typically, we don't see the same person in both categories. They're different audiences. Okay, so let's take a step back then and think about the talk so far, what we've heard, and draw some conclusions. First, core is obviously very risky. You spend a lot of money, you wait a long time, and then hopefully you earn your money back, and you don't control your channel. You have very little control over the leverage points that help optimize the business, and it's shrinking. Social is risky, but it can be really lucrative. The games that are out there that are making money are doing really, really well. The rumors about how much money Zynga and Playdom are making are really enticing. That's really good. But the reality of the story is that most games are not making money. Very few are breaking even, and it's very, very hard to break into that market unless you have the distribution power of somebody like a Zynga. It's actually looking a little bit like retail for an independent developer, because you have to get somebody like Zynga interested in your game to help you, or you have to buy a lot of ads, and it's extremely expensive, so you have your marketing budgets like in retail. So it's very, very hard to break in. Some people get lucky. We hear those stories all the time. CrowdStar came out of nowhere, essentially, and established themselves. They got very lucky. Some people continue to get lucky. You take that shot, but it's a lot of risk.